name is James Brian Devereaux. I was born in Port-aux-Basques, Newfoundland, 1960. I joined the military in 1979, and I retired in 2014 at the rank of warrant officer. And when I joined in 1979, I guess it was called a modern-day soldier compared to the Korean vet, the World War II, World War I, etc., because we came under three elements, became one Canadian Armed Forces. We had a CDS, and then we had commanders in charge of each element, which was quite different than when the older gentlemen and ladies were in the military at the time of the different wars. So for us in 1979 era, peacekeeping was one of the modern day traditions of most of the soldiers that belonged with the United Nations. So we were a big player in that United Nations around the world. And I mean, Damascus today, as it is seen in Syria, the disaster that's happening there, many soldiers back in the 70s and 80s, and probably in the 90s, they spent a lot of time, many tours, 2 or 3, a lot of people there helping out. And I mean, today I'm sure they're quite devastated to see what's taking place, because peacekeeping was something people looked forward to. They never thought they would run into the atrocities that they're having today. For example, I went to Bosnia in 1996 under the Dayton Accord was signed with President Clinton. That was more so, not peacekeeping, but more somewhat peacemaking as well, though it was there to keep the peace. But with the Dayton Accord, there was a 3-kilometer zone of danger zone there. And I was very fortunate, along with other Canadians, we got to serve with the Czech Republic military. And in 1988, I believe it was, they had broke free from Russia, okay? And this was their 1-year introduction into NATO. So it was a fascinating time to experience with them for their military trial with us. And it was a good thing. We were in a place called Prijedor. One of the things that was kind of shocking there was, of course, when you went through Bosnia and you drove through the small towns and you would come across camps, and I guess better term for it was what we see today in other countries, you know, these camps that are set up. We saw about 15,000 refugees, you know, they're there and they're living behind cardboard, plastic, you name it, was there. But driving through there with a military vehicle, just the expressions on their faces was enough to tell you that they were scared. Of course, they did know what was going on. And then for ourselves, we are looking from the expression on their faces that we just want to drive through there. I mean, they weren't carrying weapons or anything like that, but what's to say in their time of desperation and need and savior from someone that we would have really been safe. I mean, though we carried weapons and ammunition, we again were there not to be into a war zone, right? I mean, even if you were fired upon, you wanted to use common sense and prevail that you would not, you know, be forced to use the weapon, even though it would be in defense of yourself. However, under the rules of engagement, that would be the last thing that you would ever want to do as a human being as well. And so that was an exciting time, those 6 months there for me. And once I came back from Bosnia, I ended up, I spent 22 years of my time here in Petawawa. Again, a lot of that training was for me, and job involvement was helping soldiers get ready to go overseas. I didn't go to Afghanistan like so many soldiers because of internal back injuries, which was something you couldn't go there if you were injured. Cut and dried, you had to be physically fit. You know, on one hand, you felt bad because you didn't go, because you saw soldiers repeatedly go to Afghanistan. You saw families deal with it. We know of the 156 people that died there, including military and 2 civilians, you know. It's something that's very real and alive today to the Canadian population. Never mind our soldiers who are suffering on a daily basis, along with their families.